All right, let's see. Let's see who we got. Who we got? The rise and fall of Young Money. Damn, it was so promising too. They had a good run while it lasted though. Let's see what they're talking about.
Young Money Entertainment, my own thing, the new thing, man. Holla at your boy, we taking over.
I got this rapper from Canada, his name is Drake. He's real good, he's actor and all that, he's in the Brassy High. They're all better than me. That's why I came on first. Y'all gonna love me, but once they come out, y'all gonna forget about me.
I got my man Lil Chucky.
You was right too.
I have the beautiful Miss Chanel. We all know Nicki
I was about to say,
Minaj.
niggas, that
And
movie.
last but not least, Drake.
6 years.
I don't know what it was about Drake, but people took to liking to him soon as he came out. Like, it's crazy. He ain't had to do too much.
Is later.
Lil Wayne has established a label called Young Money. Now, Young Money Entertainment is a part of Cash Money, and he sued Cash Money and Birdman for $51 million, claiming he didn't get paid. He's looking at them and saying, you guys are not paying us for the albums
Nicki
of
used to
Drake,
look so different.
Nicki, and Tyga.
That situation was a lot of mess that needed to be cleaned up over the years. And you just think of where those guys started. I mean, it's only right that there's going to be a lot of gray area over 20 years of hustlers coming out of New Orleans to go on and pretty much keep.
See, that's the fake voice Drake putting on. We all know how his real corny voice sounds.
Versal alive.
It sound like the editor probably made that sound a little.
If you know anything about hip-hop, then you know that Young Money is probably the biggest record label of all time. Lil Wayne was at the height of his career when
I
he
don't know about Young Money, but Cash Money for sure.
started the label. He was the last rapper to sell 1 million copies in the first week with his album The Carter 3. And instead of prioritizing his own megastardom, he stepped back from the spotlight and introduced the world to the biggest rappers today, like Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Tyga. But in 2024, you probably wouldn't recognize any of the new Young Money artists. And even though
Shit, I know my boy Jay Jones.
Young Money birthed some
I
of
know
the
about
biggest
him.
artists in
That's
hip-hop.
the only one who I say I fuck with on the new Young Money
the
shit.
downfall of the label was actually a lot darker than you might think. But before we get into the downfall of the label, we've got to understand the foundation it was built on. In 2005, nearly all of the original Cash Money members.
Man, that boy
had-
Slim was looking just like Baby right there.
In 2005,
Oh, that is Bird. That's Bird, my bad. Baby looking like Slim in that picture, should I say.
nearly all of the original Cash Money members had left the label due to money issues. The last man standing was Lil Wayne, who was discovered by Birdman and signed to Cash Money in the early 90s at the young age of 12 years old. By 2005, Wayne was on his way to becoming the biggest rapper in the world, and this is when he created Young Money. The profits of Young Money were split 49% going to Lil Wayne and 51% going to Birdman and Cash Money. Young Money was a company under Cash Money Records, with Cash Money owning 51% of the profits that Young Money generated. The first artists signed to Young Money were Currency, Boo, Mac Main, and Gutta Gutta. From the original Young Money roster, the only rapper who's still somewhat active is Currency. However, his time at the label was not long. He left shortly after signing, and he only dropped a couple songs on Young Money. When he was asked why he left Lil Wayne's label, Currency said, "If I had got to Young Money later on, it might have went a different way. But when I was there, I was like, alright, Wayne's trying to make sure he's remembered as the best rapper alive. That does not entail making sure that my music gets where it needs to get to right now, even though he loves me to death." This is the case with a lot of artists in the industry, right? They sign young and take the first deal that's thrown at them, even if it's not the best. However, before Young Money even started, this seemed to be the case with almost every single artist that was signed to Cash Money. Wayne was the only original Cash Money artist left. The founders of Cash Money, Birdman and his brother Slim, Wayne was the only original Cash Money artist.
Putting that on
Left.
my
The
lip
fa-
with your hands? You couldn't have a little lip balm thing and put you
Founders of Cash Money, Birdman and his brother Slim, signed a distribution deal with Universal Records where they keep 85% of the royalties from all of their music sales. This was unheard of at the time. It meant that Cash Money kept basically all of their artists' profits, and Birdman was then responsible for paying each artist what they were owed from their music. This led to many Cash Money artists signing contracts where they barely saw any profits from their music. The whole
Nicki
label,
thought she was
Juvenile,
winning in that
BG,
bit.
Turk, their main producer Manny Fresh, they all left Cash Money and they all had similar reasons for leaving. It was essentially due to Birdman's shady business dealings and his inability to pay artists what they're owed. In the late 90s, Juvenile was the biggest artist on the Cash Money label, and he ended up
But all of them came back. You gotta think about that too. All of them came back. He must have did something right by you.
leaving the label at the height of his career. When he left, he said, "My reason to leave Cash Money is the same reason most artists leave a label. Money. I'm working like a slave and I'm getting nothing, so I get an entertainment lawyer and found out Cash Money weren't who they said they were with me." Manny Fresh also said he left the label because of money. And Turk, who was part of the Hot Boys group with Lil Wayne,
Turk said he left just because everybody else left.
sued Cash Money for $1.3 million in 2015 for money he was owed from his music. But that was the past, and it didn't really matter because
I took control, went solo,
It
and built
didn't
my
matter
own
to the what.
online
Niggas want
knife
their money.
empire.
For sure. That's one thing I don't play about at working or wherever. I be like, bro, I'm the coolest, quietest nigga. You hear me? Just don't play with my
Cash
money.
Money still had their biggest
And we good.
superstar, Lil Wayne. Wayne actually tried leaving the label to sign with Jay.
Yeah, Wayne tried to leave to go to Hole. Birdman stopped that shit quick. He said, boy, you don't sit your ass down. Ain't nothing had popping. You ain't
Z in
leaving.
2005.
You ain't leaving us. He rapped that shit too quick. He should have never said that. When he said that,
But him and Jay-Z never ended up forming a partnership.
I was hollering at Hov. The conversation.
Hove said that he respectfully went to go holler at Bird to let him know, like, yeah, I'm thinking about signing Wayne or whatever. Bird said, nah, it ain't happening, gang.
It wasn't about me joining Def Jam or the Rockefeller team or whatever. You know, we didn't agree on certain
I think
things
Wayne,
or whatever.
lucky that he
the
didn't
situation
do
was,
that.
It didn't work
It
out,
wouldn't have been
and I'm here
smoke.
where I am. But you know, it's all love.
Instead, Wayne renegotiated his contract with Birdman and Cash Money, and in the same year, they created Young Money. So from 2005 to 2007, most of the original Young Money members had very little success on the label, and they quickly left, as Wayne's priority was to become the best rapper alive. His popularity grew massively in 2007, and he was constantly being pitched artists who wanted to sign to Young Money. According to Jay Mills, who was one of Young Money's first members, Wayne wasn't actively hunting to sign the next Drake or Nicki Minaj. He was focused on the music, not the business. When asked about Young Money, Jay Mills said, Wayne never really wanted all of us to be like, quote-unquote, signed to Young Money. He wanted us to be Young Money, a group, and we do some Wu-Tang stuff and all get deals. I know this sounds crazy, but he never really wanted us all to be signed to him. He wanted to...
Yeah, see, I ain't never knew that. That was just on some real nigga shit, but that's because Wayne wasn't
give us a
real
platform and we go
businessman
rep
to me.
Young Money and get
Because
deals.
Wayne was a real businessman, he would have had way more things going for him. You know what I'm saying? Like clothes and all that shit, brand deals. He didn't really have too much. He had one or two. I remember the super shoes. I remember the truck fits. I remember all that. But he just felt like he could have done way more in his career being so big and popular.
Everywhere, but we're still like
Well, at
this
least I wished he
conglomerate.
would've done way more.
Omarion, another original member of Young Money, had similar thoughts. He said, so I signed my deal with Young Money. I was supposed to get my advance. And basically, within that time, my check didn't come, and that raised a lot of questions for me, like what type of business was being done. He went on to say, Wayne wasn't like a boss. He was an artist. So now you have Wayne.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I was saying, Wayne wasn't a businessman. He just wanted to rap. That was it. And I think he said that before. He didn't want to tell about the business doing this, and he just wanted to rap and focus on rapping. And that's it.
He was the biggest
But that's why you got managers and shit. You should have had Cortez and all them handle all that. Mac Main and shit.
rapper in the world at the time, and one of the only rappers still signed to the Shady Cash Money label. He decides to start his own label under Cash Money. At the time, most of Young Money's artists had no real buzz, so standing next to the biggest rapper in the world was a big look for them. Making great music with the biggest rapper in the game was the main priority. But as a result, the finances and business side of things took a backseat, and they weren't the biggest focus at the label. As a result, the finances
I was about to say, nigga, is that the CM Punk logo?
and business side of things took a backseat, and they weren't the biggest focus at the label. Now, the first artist off Young Money who had hits on the charts wasn't actually Drake or Nicki Minaj. It was Tyga.
Yep.
Tyga met Wayne at the 2008 VMA Award
Did you
show
sleep
and
on
signed
Tyga?
to Young Money shortly after. Before signing, he already had an album on the charts and a hit song called Coconut Juice. Even though he started off as the most successful artist on the label, he quickly got overshadowed by the success of Nicki and Drake, but we'll touch on that a bit later. After signing to Young Money, it took Tyga 3 years
Twist said he used to hate fucking Drake. A lot of people on the label used to hate Drake because he came in and just took all the shine and glory from everybody.
to drop his first album on the label. In 2012, it finally came out, and it actually performed pretty well, selling 68,000 copies in its first week and spawning the hits Rack City and Faded with Lil Wayne. A year later in 2013, he dropped his second album with Young Money. That album didn't perform as well, and it was pretty quiet for Tyga until the end of 2014 when he left a comment on Instagram saying, "The Gold album is done. My label's holding me hostage, so I can't release nothing. Might just leak it for my fans instead of letting the label make money off it." When a fan asked if he was still on Young Money, he replied, "Not for long." The president of Young Money, Mac Main, responded to him by saying, "Don't forget about putting limes in the coconuts. What you rep didn't make you or build you." He's basically implying that before signing to Young Money, Tyga was making corny hits and it was thanks to working with Wayne that he was able to cement himself as a legitimate artist. Now at the time it seemed kind of odd that Tyga wanted to leave Young Money. He had a decent success, he was one of the only artists along with Drake and Nicki who actually got to release an album while they were on the label, and he actually had hits. But his music got worse and his popularity started to dry up. He also started dating Kylie Jenner at the time.
Ain't nobody checking for Tyga, even the Rack City and all that. Nigga ain't going to no Tyga concert. He ain't trying to go see Tyga perform. I could be wrong, or I'm wrong. Y'all let me know in the comments. Tyga's still selling out shows and people love to see him. Y'all let me know.
And he became more known for being with her than for his music. It was for all these reasons that Young Money wasn't releasing his album, but it was eventually revealed that he also was not getting paid what he was owed. Tyga revealed that he was owed $12 million from Young Money, and he actually paid them $1 million of his own money to end his contract with the label. After leaving the label, he broke up with Kylie Jenner and he fell off pretty hard. He put out the Gold album, which was the album that Young Money refused to release, and it only ended up selling 3,000 copies. But fast forward to 2018, and
that's probably why they didn't want to release it. They be knowing. They be like, nah, this ain't it. This shit ain't gonna sell. I'm not about to put my money behind it.
Ended up making the greatest comeback of all time with his hit single, Taste. And to this day, him and Wayne still make music together, and Tyga actually dedicated an entire music video to Wayne. Now, Tyga's
Nah, that's love, that's real, you know what I'm saying? There's no bad blood at all. Tyga still be fucking with Wayne to this day. So that's love. That's
departure from Young Money was bittersweet, but his career didn't go as bad as some of the other artists on the label. Around the time that Tyga signed to the label in 2008, Wayne was also introduced to Drake, Nicki Minaj, and most of the other members of the label. Aside from the shady business deals, it was Drake and Nicki Minaj's popularity that also played a massive role in the downfall of Young Money. I'll explain that later on in this video, but at the time of being signed, all the Young Money members besides Tyga were on the same playing field. They had no hits, very little buzz, no big albums out, and they were just lucky to be standing next to the best rapper alive. So Wayne signs about 10 artists to Young Money in 2008. In 2009...
he signed too many people all at one time. Don't forget about Mystical was on that bitch. Busta Rhymes was on that bitch. Bow Wow was on that bitch. Omari, like, he was just signing so many people. It was crazy.
The group dropped the hit songs Bedrock and Every Girl, along with their group album titled We Are Young Money. Bedrock was the song that really put Nicki Minaj on the map, starting her monstrous feature run, no pun intended, where she ended up getting on the hit songs My Chick Bad by Ludacris, Bottoms Up by Trey Songz, Monster by Kanye, and many more. Drake also went on a crazy feature run after signing to Young Money, which led him to drop his classic mixtape So Far Gone. While this was the beginning of prosperous years for artists like Drake and Nicki, it was the beginning of the end for nearly every artist on the label. I mean, if you were
do y'all think their careers would have ended up the same if they wouldn't have signed to Young Money and they wouldn't have met Wayne? You think, you know what I'm saying? Because like Drake was so lame, I think he'd only worked because he stood next to some real niggas and Wayne and gangsters and all that type of shit. That changed his whole image up a little bit.
Following Young Money back in the day, you probably remember Gutta Gutta, T Streets, Corey Guns, J Mill, Chanel, and the two little kids, Twist and Lil Chucky, who must have been signed when Wayne was sipping some really strong cough medicine. Now, unfortunately, none of these artists had much success with their careers at Young Money. Gutta Gutta, J Mills, T Streets, and Chanel.
Chucky was probably the trashiest. They got a little hope for Twist. Like he got a little better. He really think he Wayne now. He's like he even sound like him, look like him. He's like a younger version of Wayne. But back then, Lil Twist was garbage.
Had features on a lot of Wayne projects, but they never ended up dropping their own albums. This was probably because when you're standing next to a rapper as talented as Wayne, it's hard to stand out and make a name for yourself. But there were some really dope artists on.
That's what's going on with the new Young Money now with Jay Jones and everybody. Hoodie Baby and all these other people and shit. It's just you just standing next to him, but you ain't making real good music or hits and nothing like that.
Young Money, who had a lot of potential.
They be booing them off the stage. After Wayne get off the stage and they bring his other artists out, they be booing them. Wayne had to come back and be like, hold on, man, show my people some love, you hear me?
But they also never had an album released. For example, Corey Guns was on the original version of A Milli by Lil Wayne, and he had a feature on Wayne's massive song 6 Foot 7 Foot, which sold over 7 million records. He stood his ground, and you could argue that he rapped as well as Wayne did on those songs. But even with his talent, Corey was never able to put out his own.
Corey verse was cool, but he wasn't fucking with Wayne.
Album. In 2020, when Corey Guns' dad was asked about his son signing to Young Money, he said, "It's bittersweet because I know how the industry could spit you up. 1 minute you'll be hot, then not be hot, and I never want my kids to go through that. I'd rather them have a steady income. Like for instance, where is Corey now? He's got a million songs, he's working, He's still on Young Money, believe it or not. But Corey's such a phenomenal rapper. In my era, Corey would have been a superstar already. But the era we
Corey
live in,
probably
you almost
signed
got to
a-
dumb it down
a
somewhat.
lifetime
And he was just
deal
never
with
willing
Young
to
Money.
dumb it down to the point where people could all the way get it. Now that could be true for a lot of rappers on Young Money. As we saw with Tyga, if you didn't have a hot song or any sort of popularity at the time, then the label wouldn't want to put your album out. It's unfortunate because with the right branding, artists like Corey
that's
Guns,
business,
Jay
though.
Mills, and even Chanel could have had prosperous careers. But the
The fuck happened to Chanel? Where's she at now in 2025? I gotta look her up.
label was so busy with Wayne and later Drake and Nicki that they didn't invest in the proper marketing for their less popular artists. Maybe it didn't seem like it was worth it, since none of them were able to create the proper
boy was
marketing
the
for their
cup
less
holder.
popular artists. Maybe it didn't seem
Man, hold my cup, you heard?
like it was worth it, since none of them were able to create their own popularity. Now, as for Lil Chucky and Lil Twist, the marketing approach that Young Money took for them was actually pretty interesting. When Wayne was creating Young Money in 2008, Lil Chucky was just 13 years old, and Lil Twist was 15. Wayne explained that he signed these two rappers at such a young age because his daughter was a fan of them. He said, anytime my daughter's a fan of you, it means you got started. They were both groomed to be the next Lil Wayne. Everything from the way they dressed, the dreads, the cadences in their raps.
Shit, Wayne actually don't like when you try to be like him, and he'll tell you, nah, you gotta be yourself, you hear me? So I don't think Wayne approved of them trying to be the new Lil Wayne.
Wayne said himself that he was going to paint Lil Chucky
Whoa.
dressed, the dreads, the cadences in their raps. Wayne said himself that he was going to paint
You
Lil
saw that
Chucky
rub on the back
the
of his
dress,
head
the
like
dreads,
that?
the cadences in
That
their
girl
raps.
too soft.
Wayne said himself that he was going to paint Lil Chucky as the new Lil Wayne. On paper, that sounds like a great idea, right? Let two young kids be mentored by the greatest rapper alive and try to turn them into the next version of that. But unlike Corey Guns, they couldn't rap nearly as well as Lil Wayne. And unlike Drake, they couldn't make hits the same way Wayne's daughter maybe thought they could. Lil Chucky stayed on the label for about 5 years and eventually left without putting out a single album or song. In a 2014 interview with Sway in the Morning, when he was asked about his situation
ain't
with
put out
Young
nothing
Money,
either.
Lil Chucky rapped, "You've been hot and they know it, and still releases they hold it, always had music, labels just wasn't supporting. Guess signing that deal wasn't really all that after all the boasting." Basically stating that he always had the music, it was always there, but the label just never supported him, they always held back his music,
That
never
shit was
dropped his
trash.
albums, and
Chucky
after all the
could not
instant
make
gratification.
good music. Go try to find a Chucky song. That shit was trash.
And excitement that comes from signing to a guy as prolific as Wayne, actually being on his label probably wasn't what you thought it was when your albums and music just keeps getting delayed. Lil Twist, on the other hand, is actually still signed to Young Money, and he put out a couple singles with Lil Wayne and Busta Rhymes in the early 2010s, unlike Lil Chucky. At the time, he was good friends with Justin Bieber. Now, while Tyga became less known for his music on Young Money, and more known for his relationship with Kylie Jenner, Lil Twist suffered from the same effect, where he was also less known for his music, and more known for his relationship with Justin Bieber. This was at a time when
Why they
Bieber
had
was
the same
getting himself
relationship
into a
like
lot of
that?
legal trouble, and Twist claims that Bieber's team made him take drug charges for Justin, because those charges would have negatively impacted Bieber's reputation as a young artist. But for Twist, a couple drug charges wouldn't hurt his brand as badly, since he already rapped about that type of stuff and he was associated with Lil Wayne. When he was asked about it, Twist said that Bieber had politically correct people type of stuff and
That
he was
boy Chucky
associated with
wanted
Lil
a
Wayne.
big-ass
When he was
hug.
asked about it, Twist said that Bieber had politically
Oh,
correct
never
people
mind.
type of
Like he was
stuff and
doing
he was
the bird
associated
thing.
with Lil Wayne. When he was asked about it, Twist said that Bieber had politically correct people around him who can control his life, and I wasn't that guy. I just let
That
him know
baby
you're
wasn't
not a
kissing
puppet.
him.
And he looked up to me and Wayne so much, and that's what they hated. I had control of their cash cow. With TMZ constantly reporting that Twist was getting Bieber into trouble, the two eventually stopped hanging out as much, and Twist was just painted as the bad guy. No one really cared about his music beyond his association and controversy with Lil Wayne and Justin Bieber. As for Drake, it was the absolute complete opposite. Aside from creating music that changed the course of hip-hop, blending R&B and rap in a way that's never been done before, Drake had an extremely clean reputation and people cared more about his music than his affiliation with Wayne or
I hate the long ass chain.
or other big artists. According to Lil Twist, Drake met Lil Wayne at the A Milli video shoot, and he brought him a portfolio full of headshots from Degrassi,
Yeah, I
which was the
remember
TV show that Drake was on before he became a rapper. Twist said that from the beginning, Drake was
How the fuck you bringing your pictures and headshots to go meet with a rapper, a gangster rapper at that, try to get a record deal? You bring headshot photos and shit. You supposed to bring the music, bring the jump drives, the CDs, all that.
professional and well put together. Wayne flipped through the portfolio that Drake brought him and immediately told his management team to sign Drake. Now, while it's definitely true that Drake has always been professional, the story of
you
how
look at
Wayne
his
signed
portfolio
him
and liked
is
his
different
pictures?
depending on who
What
you
the fuck?
ask. Jazz Prince Jr., the guy who initially found Drake on MySpace, claims that when he first showed Wayne Drake's music, Weezy said, "Jazz, don't ever play this for me again. He sucks." Jazz claims that later on he was in the car with Wayne and played him Drake's A Milli remix. Then he played him Drake's song Brand New. When Wayne heard that Drake can rap and sing, that was the moment he wanted to sign him. Wayne found Nicki in a similar way, as he heard her rapping on the Come Up DVD and immediately knew he wanted to sign her. Both Drake and Nicki blew up almost instantly. They dropped mixtapes in 2009, then they both went on insane feature runs where they were out rapping hip-hop vets like Kanye, Wayne, Bun B, Rick Ross, and more. By 2010, Wayne was sent to prison for 8 months, and it was up to Drake and Nicki to make sure Young Money stayed relevant. While all the other Young Money artists failed to create a buzz for themselves, Drake and Nicki put out their first albums, with each of them selling
Drake fucked his girl while he was in jail, but we ain't gonna talk about it.
Over 300,000 copies first week and going platinum in that same year. By the time Wayne
Wonder where that little white girl at now to this day, because she look very familiar. So I wonder where she at now 2025. If y'all know, put it in the comments. Let me see.
Came out of jail, Drake and Nicki were on his first week and going platinum in that same year. By the time Wayne came out of
talking about her right now.
Jail, Drake and Nicki were on top of the world. Tyga was about to put out his first album, and Wayne was bigger than ever. But while Young Money's top artists were only getting hotter, this is when the downfall of the label truly began. According to Jay Mills, there was a lot of jealousy between him and the Young Money members. In 2009, they were all
Drake.
small artists, and Wayne would bring all of them out to perform at his shows. But now you have Drake and Nicki who are superstars, so they were going out on their own tours, but they weren't bringing the rest of Young Money with them. Jay Mills said that when Drake did his 2012 tour, he was extremely disappointed because Drake brought out A$AP Rocky, Kendrick, 2 Chainz, basically all the biggest artists at the time. But he didn't think of bringing out Jay Mills or any other Young Money artists. He said, even if we're not hot like that, make us hot. Someone made you hot. To be fair, I was in my feelings, but we were a crew. And in a way, Jay Mills kind of had a point, right? Wayne made Drake and Nicki hot, so they could return the favor by putting their spotlight on some of the Young Money artists that they came up with. If you go back to any Drake or Nicki album,
Drake didn't like none of them because they didn't like him. They didn't show him the genuine vibe, so he like, fuck, I'm just on the label, but we ain't friends.
You see a single Young Money feature besides Tyga on a remix to The Motto by Drake. It was obvious that Drake and Nicki...
You think about it, Drake ain't never mentioned nobody from Young Money besides motherfucking Nicki. Other than that, they don't never mention, to this day, he don't talk about nobody from Young Money. He don't, if he do say Young Money, he ain't gonna mention nobody names. He ain't gonna talk about Twist, J Mills, none of them people.
You were on another level, and the label's focus was on making them bigger and completely ignoring the careers of the rest of the Young Money artists. By 2014, the animosity amongst Young Money members became even worse. Drake, Nicki, and Tyga were the only artists to release any albums on Young Money. And while Tyga was fighting to leave the label, he did an interview with Vibe magazine where he said, I don't really get along with Drake. I don't really get along with Nicki. I don't like Drake as a person. He's just fake to me. I think his music is good, but we're all different as people. We were forced together.
That's how they all felt about Drake, so that's why he didn't fuck with none of them.
I try to be cool with everybody, but sometimes everybody just has their own different personalities. When Wayne was the only superstar, all the Young Money artists were standing next to him, trying to make a name for themselves. But as Drake and Nicki became bigger than Wayne, it seemed like every Young Money artist got overshadowed by them, and the label didn't see the value in investing into their careers. It's almost like a TV show. You have the main characters, and as the show develops, you'll get some background characters who are lucky to have a couple lines throughout the entire series. If those background characters have personalities that stand out, you'll see more of them as the show progresses. So now you have 3 main actors and 7 people in the background who aren't seeing any marketing efforts from their label. They're being overshadowed by superstars and getting no help from anyone around them. But to make it worse, not only were they not getting marketed properly, but they also weren't getting paid properly. By the end of 2014, almost 10 years after Wayne started the Young Money label, he sued Birdman for $51 million, claiming that he was never properly paid for profits from Drake, Nicki, Tyga, and even his own music. Remember how the label wasn't letting Tyga release his Gold album? Well, now they weren't letting Wayne, who was once the biggest artist on the label, release his highly anticipated album, The Carter 5. Now, if the boss of the label isn't getting paid and they won't release his own album...
didn't have no hit singles on it to this day.
What makes you think they're going to spend money to put out a Jay Mills project or pay Gutta Gutta anything? The future of Young Money lied in the hands of Birdman as Wayne fought to end his partnership with Cash Money and began dissing him at his shows. At the time, Birdman was busy turning Young Thug into a superstar, and there were even rumors that Thug and Birdman had someone shoot up Wayne's tour bus after Wayne dissed them. The same way Jay Mills and Tyga had some form of animosity towards Drake's superstardom.
Did a video on it, y'all go check it out.
It seemed that at this point in Wayne's career, he may have had a similar form of resentment towards Young Thug's rise in popularity and the mentorship he was getting from Birdman. According to Young Thug, when Birdman introduced the two artists, Wayne refused to shake Thug's hand. Thug was like the predecessor that Wayne wanted Lil Chucky and Lil Twist to be. But this is a common theme in the music industry, right? Artists sign bad contracts when they're young and they're desperate, and once their music isn't as hot as it used to be, they don't get promoted or paid by their labels. Jay Mills put it perfectly when he said, I know what it was like to be great, and somebody comes around and they are just undeniable.
For all my people with dreads, I had dreads before, but with all my people with dreads, I want y'all to know them braids, when you put your dreads in braids, that be the shit that's tearing your hair up. I promise you. That shit be pulling your hair out your scalp and then have your dreads thinning out and then it just keep getting thin and thin and thin until they just start falling out. So if you notice Wayne now with the bald dreads, though, even though he been fixing them now, I doubt he'll ever put them bitches in braids again. There's a lot of people with dreads. You don't really see people braiding their dreads up no more.
Nicki was undeniable. Drake was undeniable. Let's say there was 10 of us. To hit with 3 the way that you hit. Now some people might say, Mills, you're being a little too cordial with that because you weren't one of those 3. That's how it works sometimes. Keep it moving, figure it out.
Yeah,
that wasn't
3
my
out of
first
10,
stop on the
it's
train
a win.
and it's not going to be my last. I knew this wouldn't last forever, and I feel like a lot of people thought it was going to last forever. So to sum it up, Young Money's run was revolutionary and it changed the sound of hip-hop forever. In the end, Lil Wayne will go down as one of the best rappers of all time with one of the best labels in music history. But he didn't start Young Money to purely profit off these artists. Instead, it was to help them become as great of an artist as he was. But there's only so much that someone else can do for you. To artists like Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Tyga, they knew that being in Wayne's shadow wouldn't last forever. They needed to make a name for themselves. There's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be a bad contract on the table, but it's up to you to work your way out of that and stand out from everyone else. Wayne built a conglomerate that no one else in hip-hop will ever be able to replicate. And out of 10 artists, to hit up...
Which he did, and it's crazy how the Pusha beef even started with Drake, and because it came from the him and Wayne beef, which came from Wayne Big. Like, it shit ain't make no sense at all what the fuck they was beefing over, man. But if y'all wanna see this one right here, y'all let me know. Put a yes in the comment. And subscribe while you're at it. Hit the like button.
Do it for the bar, just do it for the bar, just do it for the bar, do it, do it.